Next generation meteorologist Joe Shock here with a special tropical update. I'm going to be looking at Fiona today in detail, the 16th of September 2022. And this is interesting. A feature here off the East Coast heading east. I'll talk about that a little bit as well because I think it's going to have some implications possibly down the road with Fiona. But anyway, here is Fiona this morning, a tropical storm as it continues to move westward into the Caribbean islands. Here's the cloud shot. You can see again a little bit disheveled, not as disheveled as it was yesterday where we had the low level center to the west, all the deep convection to the east. But you can certainly see here there is some pretty impressive convection thunderstorm development just off to the east of the low level center, it looks like here in the cloud shot. But it's trying to get more aligned with itself as it continues to drift off to the west. Now looking at the MJO pretty much running around in an old phase, not going to really be a player with Fiona at least, but maybe down the road as we end the month and begin October. But I'll just give you a quick look at what we might be going down the road. But certainly the MJO does not have its hands tied to Fiona specifically. There's a JMA, the same kind of thing shown there as well, with pretty much no MJO forcing, keeping the tropics globally relatively quiet speakingly. All right, so I guess if the MJO does come out into those phases 8, 1, and 2, or is, I guess you could say, leaning closer to, I guess if you want to say it's leaning closest to phase 8 or 1 or 2 within an old phase, especially the JMA, leaning closer to that phase 2, you can see the amplification of tropical cyclone development in the Caribbean and then up along the East Coast and into the Gulf of Mexico. So it seems like if you wanted to verify how close it is, I guess you can say it's closer to us. It has the best look at a phase 2 at the moment, but you can see the enhancement here. And I think this is actually a pretty good representation given what I think is going to happen with Fiona. And you'll see that here in the course of today's video. Now, ocean temperatures, of course, plenty warm enough to support, deep tropical cyclones in the Atlantic Basin. There's the classic, La Nina that's still going on. And there's Earl's cool wake there. Danielle's cool wake up here along with Earl. So there's been some cooling in the subtropics, but certainly plenty of fuel for Fiona to come west. And look at all this warm water, several degrees Celsius above normal, just waiting to use that energy. Actual ocean temperatures in the mid and upper 80s. This darker shading of red, I'll trace it with the mouse cursor so you can see all of this, mid and upper 80s. And there's the Gulf Stream just running off the mid-Atlantic coast, 80-degree water off of Delaware. And you can see it slowly looping up and around like that. And, mid and upper 70s, pretty much, I guess you could say, off of Delaware to New England, but mainly the core of 80-degree water, roughly, just to probably about 37, 38 north over here. So, again, very, very far north and certainly several degrees Celsius above normal. And that's going to play a role with what I'm about to show you here in a few minutes. Here's the ocean heat content. Again, quite high, especially in the Caribbean, the Bahamas, and look at that off the East Coast. Man, this is an impressive situation. But we'll see what happens with this. All right, now let's look at the JMA Weeklies. Week 1, the vertical velocity pattern. I always like to call it the upper motion pattern because I'm only going to use it, I guess, if I'm looking for tropical development in the Atlantic Basin. So the blue is where air is rising. You can see all that. And look at this, the precipitation. There's Fiona, trying to figure out where Fiona is going to be, somewhere in the Caribbean. There's that trough split. There's the ridge building over the eastern part of the United States. Week 2. Ooh. All that enhanced precip as it tries to figure out where Fiona is going to go. There's a trough split. There's a trough off the west coast. Wait till I get to the typhoon. You'll see that in just a second. But I guess why not? I'll bring it up here. Here's the typhoon going into Japan, which is going to be a surprise for the end of the video. You'll see that. But there's, again, week 2. Now, let's take a look at some model verification here from Albany Brian Tang. And he's got some pretty cool products over there, which I am finding very, very useful and trying to figure out where this is going to end up going. Now, here's the TPCN, the various runs over the last day or so. And then the black X here is the verified storm track, which is Fiona. You can definitely see Fiona on the south side of the guidance over the last day and a half or so. So there's the consensus model turning south and west with time. Here's the European ensemble, the 0Z run. You can definitely see here the conglomerates of tracks moving west And then somewhat, we'll have to see how much land interaction there is with the Dominican Republic and possibly even Haiti, some of the guidance. And then certainly the weakest of the guidance destroys this pretty much over Cuba and would take quite a while to regenerate this if it has to track through all that land. And of course, the stronger members, easily recurve it with this trough that's coming through. And I'll go over the synoptic pattern in just a second, but you can see a quick overview of the European. Here is the European from Albany. You can see again, same kind of thing. There's the verification of black X's and the various model probabilities, the ensembles, the tropical cyclone ellipses of where this is probably going to be going out 5 days. So really a lot of cool stuff here at one graphic, so you can see what the European up close looks like that. Then the what is this? This is another version of the same kind of thing. This is the strike probability, and this here is just a raw verification. Again, same kind of thing. The modeling is trending southward as the storm is tracking southward. In the last couple of runs here, you can see the actual storm track is pretty far south from its first track back on the 14th. But you can see here overall the conglomerates of trends in the last couple of days. Now looking at the GFS, same kind of thing. It comes through the Caribbean and through the Dominican, and then emerges into the Bahamas. We'll have to see what state it emerges out of the Dominican into the Bahamas and what state it is going into the Dominican and where it goes in. Does it come in on the east side of the island or closer to the central and or western part? Because how much land interaction, how much interference with the terrain that's in through here will definitely dictate how it comes out, and of course its structure as well. So we'll see if the Dominican can weaken this thing substantially if it comes in as a stronger storm, and the inner core of this thing, how destructive this actually is to Fiona. We'll have to wait and see over the next couple of days. But again, you can see the GEFS, same kind of thing. Weaker solutions further south and west, stronger get absorbed into this whole troughing idea, which I have. And here is the same thing here with the verification and its ensemble spread from Brian Tang over at the University of Albany. And there's again the verification with an additional ellipses. So you can see the nice southward trend there. Now let's have some fun and games looking at the synoptic pattern. And I'm going to tell you what, this is wild. It really is. And you see what's going on here is this is the 0Z run. This is valid day 7. Here's this trough. Now this trough is going to come out of Canada. I didn't want to put the whole thing on. Now here's this trough that's coming through the northeast. Now here is roughly where Fiona is going to be, somewhere in this area in the Bahamas. Now a stronger storm is going to feel the upper level steering pattern, which is what this is. Feel this weakness in the ridge in the Western Atlantic and head on out with the trough. A weaker storm will be further south and west, not be steered by the mid-level and upper-level wind pattern, and possibly try to get blocked by this ridge over the central plains and extending into the southeast. But the ridge is not strong enough and connected across here to send this into the Gulf of Mexico, which is not going to happen. But the issue is, how strong is Fiona going to be? How far north is it going to be? And what's the whole relationship with this trough coming through the northeast towards the middle and end of next week? And here's the GFS, quite a different situation. Trough is weaker. Looks like we have a trough split that might be going. The ridge is a little bit further north and east. Fiona is here. You can see a little bit maybe better of a blocking pattern, but still, even as you saw there with the GEFS ensemble members, they still find the weakness here and take it off to the north and east around the island of Bermuda. So certainly a interesting steering pattern coming up. And then if we look here at hour 2:10, there's the European with the trough, and obviously Fiona is out with the trough getting yanked out to sea by this time. The GEFS 0Z, you can see there's some clustering back here, and there's some more, sitting out here, as you saw there with the members, most of them taking it out. If it's a strong hurricane in the Bahamas, it's definitely going to get that trough and head out to sea. And that shows up quite nicely here on the pressure plot. You can see the strong members here, north and east. The less strong ones, or into the slower moving ones, are in the Bahamas by next Saturday. And a close-up of the European ensemble shows that at 6Z run, the stronger members taking off the north and east, while the weaker ones, slowly strengthening, are in the Bahamas. So you can certainly see the Dominican Republic is going to be a big player in the exact outcome once it leaves the island. Will it be strong? Will it be taken off? Or will it be a little bit weaker and slower moving? And will it be in the Bahamas in about 6 days. And yet here is the GEFS 0Z, same kind of thing, a widespread, of course, within the ensembles. Some of it trying to block it with the high and slower moving and weaker, and the other ones, of course, scaping it out with the trough that comes through. And here's another close-up example of the tracks, and you can see there most of them recurve this thing safely out to sea, but again, could get close to the island of Bermuda in the longer term. Now, here we are at the end. Now, when I was talking to one of my other friends about this, and he found something really, really interesting. This is Typhoon Grace in 1954, last 10 days of August, as Grace came through the West Pacific. All right, so there's Grace. There's the track, what happened with Grace. Look what we got going on now out there. We got this next typhoon, Namindol, I guess that's how it's pronounced, but the N1 doing a similar track. Grace, the one that's coming through now, or will be coming through. Interesting, huh? Ah, interesting. You know what happened about a week to 10 days after Grace went through? Hurricane Carol came up to New England and also was followed by Hurricane Edna. So there is an interesting relationship with this typhoon that's going to be coming into Japan, and looks like will be recurring. And there's the GEFS with its tracks, and you can see clearly the similarities between Grace and the future track of this typhoon that's coming in there over the next couple of days. So it's an interesting situation. Will this pattern from 1954, create this possibility? I guess I like to say that I'm certainly keeping an open mind, and certainly saying it's not impossible for Fiona to impact the East Coast or New England. But at the moment, given the upper level steering pattern that I see setting up, it's hard for me to buy into that. That's why I do have my track out to sea and not really being an impact to anyone once it leaves the Bahamas. But however, I am keeping this option open, seeing the similarities are very, very close to the steering pattern that was observed in 1954. And there's been a lot of things that have been similar to the year of 1954. We've had the very, very bad drought in New England, which are related to New England hurricane landfalls in 54. We had the June overall pattern, which was identical to 54. The ENSO's in a very similar state to where it was in 1954. So there are correlations and relationships here to, the year of 1954 and what's going on now. So we'll see if that works out, and maybe the models, will correct. And this analog idea that me and my friend looked at, maybe this will be guiding the way as time goes on. But certainly Fiona is going to be one to definitely watch, and certainly very enjoyable to do some forecast verification to see how the models do on this particular situation. But anyway, certainly an interesting storm, and certainly some interesting correlations that I'm certainly looking at over here. So that is it for now, and thank you for watching.